Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives. I have just a moment here. I'm going out, get some coffee at the local coffee shop across the street from where I work, and wanted to talk about something very important to me anyway. It's the idea of tone policing and quote unquote rudeness. And it's very important to me as we talk about this because people don't understand what they don't understand. We have long since been a part of an activist community that is trying to educate folks within the progressive movement because the number one problem with getting anything passed in our entire electoral system is understanding, quite frankly, that how to pay for stuff, right? So because the GOP has long since been on the record with the Norquist pledge that they're not going to raise taxes for any reason, well, that means everything that we try and pass is dead letter office. It's not happening, right? You're not going to get anything. It's not happening. So for years, I was learning MMT in other areas of Facebook and talking with other people that knew the subject much better than myself. And it became very apparent that this was just going to be some little niche-y thing. People are just going to sit around a little quiet area, hanging out, talking about little technical details that nobody gave a shit about other than, some very technical people, right? Some very, very technical people talking about very, very technical things, about very, very important things that were made overly complicated, almost irrelevant, right? And so as you learn the technical details of how federal finance works, as you learn the technical details of the flows between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve and Congress and to the public and the receipts of taxation and what happens with those digits as they pass through the electronic system and so forth, you begin to realize that you can really boil this down into some pretty simple truths, right? It may not be like super technical truths, but the average person just needs to know that their taxes are not literally paying for spending, right? So you're not paying for someone's bad choices. You're not paying for so-and-so's abortion. You're not paying for the bombs. You're not paying for, Israel. You're not paying for whatever. Bottom line is your taxes are there to drive the use of currency. Whatever happens behind the cloud, most people don't give a shit about. You know what I mean? Most people don't care about that. However, I want to tell you this. Black Lives Matter is a great case study, if you will, for what it means to take a subject most people don't want to talk about and try to put it right in your face, okay? And so when you think about Black Lives Matter, think about what the conservatives always said when they would grab the microphone, when they would block traffic, when they would yell and scream, whatever. People are like, oh, they're being disrespectful, they're not paying attention to authority. They're whatever. There's all these reasons why what they were doing is so bad and so forth. The reality is, I don't care whether you say they're Soros, but it's ridiculous. People that say that just make me throw up. But the thing is that what they did was they said by any means necessary. This is an important enough point that we cannot screw around. We have got to have people understand that people are being gunned down just for being black. They're scared of black people. People are scared of black people, right? And so these people are showing up at traffic stops, and before they even have a chance to pull their wallet out, they're being shot on suspicion of having a gun. Kids with BB guns are being capped within seconds of the police officer coming out of the car. People are, all these individuals laying in the street for hours and days. I mean, scary, scary black people going to do scary, scary things. That's the way they put it out there. And so Black Lives Matter came out and said, oh, hell no. Hell no. All lives matter, right? We all get that. But right now, the black lives are on fire. See? So when we started looking at economics and we started realizing 45,000 people globally commit suicide every year as a direct result, okay, as a direct result of unemployment. 45,000 suicides a year, okay? So to me, that's a lot of death, right? That's a lot of economic death just right there alone based on unemployment. Then you take in how many deaths occur as a direct result of healthcare, lack of healthcare. Then you take a result of how many people die from destitution and from natural disasters that could have been changed by green energy. And then you look at how many people die in wars because they're positioning themselves geopolitically for oil and access to oil. It's really access to oil, right? It's not for petrodollars per se, it's for access to oil. So as you start lining up all these deaths, you realize maybe Black Lives Matter has the right approach to approaching these things. Maybe they, being a little bit rude, being a little irreverent, being a little nasty about death. But see, people don't equate economics to a gunshot wound to the head. And that's got to change. We got to start making people realize the cause and effect of economics. And because people are not very smart, or they're bored, or they're just lazy, let's be fair, most people are lazy, right? Most people don't want to learn this stuff. So in order to make people realize how important it is, we took a very dry subject that most people ignore, and we tried to make it simple, and we tried to make it very, very pungent so that you understood point blank that we weren't screwing around. People are dying over this. So when people sit there and come after me, what they're actually doing, number one, they're exposing their own ignorance, but number two, more importantly, they're missing the point. I can sit there and talk quiet and sweet, and that's what most MMTers did for years and years and years. They sat there very quietly, very sweetly, debating Mises, debating these libertarians, debating the Austrians. They'd sit there and have these little, semantic wars in the background, and nobody got to see them, but we would go there and we'd go to Mises' blogs and we watch the battle go between the Austrians and the MMTers, and it was a lot of fun, but nobody's lives were getting saved by it. It was all mental masturbation. It was all intellectual haiku. It wasn't actually useful to the average person. And what we've tried to do, because ultimately change at the top is not going to happen because they decide to help us. Change at the top is going to happen because we decide to help ourselves. And we demand, and we make these demands. If we don't make these demands, they're not going to happen. So I'm sorry for those people who are offended by the style. I'm sure they were also offended by Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry that they don't understand that austerity kills. I'm sorry that they don't understand the gravity of what we're speaking of. I'm sorry if they want to play a semantic game about the term fund. The dictionary term about fund means that we're setting money aside. Well, as Warren Mosler clearly says, that the Federal Reserve neither has or does not have dollars. The Federal Reserve creates dollars through keystrokes, meaning they enter it into a spreadsheet based on Congress telling them, hey, we've written a bill. The bill's going to cost this much money. Authorize the funds. There's no shortage of money. There's no shortage of money. But they tell us that they're broke, and we buy it. And by our own hand, innocently as it may be, we have condemned many, many thousands of people to die that didn't need to die. And this, my friends, is why you see us come out swinging. When that light bulb goes off for you and you realize climate change, man-made part of it anyway, is directly impacted by austerity because we're cutting costs in the capitalist side of the private sector, where we could be offsetting that with public spending to get us to green energy. When you look at the deaths and stuff with Medicare for all, or better yet, a national health care service, people are dying unnecessarily. Is it part of the plan? I don't know. We're contributing to that because we keep pretending like somehow or another MMT is against socialism, or MMT is against this, or MMT is bullshit, or MMT is a myth, or Grumbine's a scam, he's a cult leader, he's a this, he's a that. And this right here, my friends, I'm just explaining to you. Couldn't be any more clear. The idea of saying taxes don't fund spending is a direct answer to when Hillary Clinton says, how are you going to pay for it, Bernie? We've got to pay for it somehow, Bernie. And people were sitting there listening to these debates and goes, well, she has a point. How are we going to pay for it? We're broke. Where are we going to get that money? How is it that the government can afford to do all these things, but regular households can't? Well, you and I, we don't have a printing press. We can't keystroke money into existence. We're not a monetarily sovereign entity, but our government is. And so when you look at Houston, when you look at all the suffering around the world, and you realize that much of this is brought on by fettered austerity, not unfettered spending. Unfettered austerity. Once you realize that, the light bulbs will go on, and you're probably going to get pretty nasty too when you realize how many people are dying from ignorance. People don't like being challenged. People don't like being told they're wrong. People don't like their long-held beliefs being smacked around. But the fact is, I'm more worried about the people dying than I am anybody who's getting butt hurt. This is MMT is kind of mean. They're mean people. They say things kind of rude and hurts my feels. You know, when you do that, it's just like, do I worry about these people that are not worried about the dying? These people who are such snowflakes, they get so butthurt so easily. Do you really, do you take their needs as more important, or do you take the dying more important? It's a question you got to ask yourself. What do you prioritize? Do you prioritize somebody who says, I'm so triggered by his emotions, the way he said things, it really hurts my feelings? Or do you get more triggered by the fact that people are dying? It's a question only you can answer. With that, I'm Steve Grumbine. I'm going to go have my coffee and get back to work. Have a good day, everybody. I'm out.